had bought before? Yeah, that's called microsleep. And the average time microsleep lasts is 2 to 3 seconds, where you are falling asleep. And at 2 to 3 seconds, at only 65 miles an hour, you are crossing the distance of a football field asleep. And we know that drowsy driving is as dangerous as drunk driving. So something we could practice here is, hey, get a good night's rest. Who's getting 7 to 9 hours every night? I hear some giggles. We wish. We wish we were everyone else that had our hands up. How about 6 hours or less on average? Yeah, we're all sitting there. So here's the first place that we can improve. Get 6.5 hours tonight. Maybe try again tomorrow. Maybe you reach 7 in 3 days. When we stay at 6 hours or less, we suffer from sleep deficit. And we are 33% more likely to be involved in a drowsy driving crash. Maybe we should all start practicing 0 cell phones. We know that texting is a problem. You all hear, stop texting, no texting, right? Is it becoming a little bit of a broken record? Until we see somebody doing it on the road, right? You're wondering why this person in front of you can't maintain their speed, or they're bouncing off the line 7 times, and then you approach them, and what are they doing? They are looking at their phone. They're not even paying attention to the road at all. But the phone does so many things more than texting. So what else could we be doing on our phone? Facebook. We're scrolling our likes. What else? Selfies. Music. Podcast. Navigation. So to use our phone as a tool that helps us, because I use my phone a lot when I drive as far as navigation. So what I've started doing is I put the navigation on before I start driving. And it's set. That's something I didn't used to do, but now I'm practicing doing better. So now before I move the car, I plug in that destination. Maybe we practice 0 speeding. Parents, can any of you promise me or your teen that you will never speed? You're giggling. Or your teen is giggling. No, I know you can't promise that. That's unrealistic. But we can promise to practice 0 speeding. Where should we practice 0 speeding? Neighborhoods? Where else?
The driveway.
Oh, the driveway. You're pulling up. Yeah, don't hit the garage. School zones. Thank you. There are a lot of places that we can start seeing these opportunities for slowing down. How about when you see children outside, whether they're small kids or teens? Where there's one, are there more? Yeah, usually. Slow down when you see kids. How about practicing 0 drugs and alcohol? That's easy. But knowing that drugs and alcohol impair a person's ability to concentrate and make decisions while slowing your reaction time. So that is why it's such a dangerous or even deadly combination to use drugs or alcohol behind the wheel. But drugs are more than just recreational use of illegal drugs. That's a problem. It's on the rise. But what about over-the-counter medication? How about your prescription medication? If your label on any medication says that it may cause drowsiness, that is an impairment. Read your labels. Follow the laws. Parents, if you use alcohol, know what your limits are. Plan ahead. Getting a designated driver. And maybe, hey, your teen, when they're 17, they've proven themselves worthy, they could be your designated driver. 0 unbuckled excuses. That's a very easy place to start. And in fact, if we look at all the skills that I've listed, putting on a seatbelt is the easiest skill to do of all. And it takes the quickest. There's not much time to put on a seatbelt, and there's no excuse for it. So parents, We talked about what impaired driving is, and now I'm going to turn the time over to you to have a conversation quickly with your teen within the next 1 to 2 minutes. We will be making a parent and teen driving agreement. So the first step is taking a look here that parents, you put in your name here and you agree to your teen. So for example, I, Katie, and what's your name? Maddie. I, Katie, promise you, Maddie, that from today forward, I will follow Utah's DUI and DWI laws with 0 exception and never knowingly ride with someone who is impaired by drugs or alcohol. Parents, in addition to this contract, you can also tell your teen that whatever time of day it is or wherever you are, if they have made the terribly stupid decision to use drugs or alcohol with their friends, they can call you for a ride. And teens, when you make that call, your parents will be not happy. Not at all, okay? You will have to face those consequences, okay? But it will be worth it, I promise, having this discussion right now. And then teens, the laws are different for you. What is the alcohol limit for anyone under the age of 21? Not a drop and 0, exactly. So that law says that if you use drugs or alcohol and you decide to drive under the age of 21, under the influence, you automatically can receive the DUI. Your vehicle is impounded. The driver's license division who gives you a license revokes your license for a minimum of 1 year. It's not worth it, I promise you. And teens, in addition to this, you promise your parents that you will never knowingly ride with someone who is impaired by drugs or alcohol. Do not ever be a passenger in your friend's car who has used drugs or alcohol. Parents and teens, go ahead and make your commitments. And if you are able to log in to the app, after you have your discussion, you can seal the deal with a handshake, a fist bump, a hug, whatever you have in your pocket. But then on the app, you can make your signature up here, and we'll send that to you in an email later. parentnight.app. No, it's a web. It's a website.
Parent Night.
Yeah, Parent Night, and do NIGHT .app and go. Parent,
I'm here.
You're there.
But then what?
So did you do this agreement?
No, I just filled
Oh,
in
you just
information.
finished. Oh, good. Okay.
But it's not doing anything.
It will
tried to refresh it,
Okay.
but it's not.
It will.
Oh, that's something else.
Okay. Okay.
Oh, there it is. I was going to ask a suggestion.
Okay, that's okay. Yeah.
Can you remind the kids to listen to their parents?
Oh yeah.
Because
Mm.
we co-signed.
Yeah.
6 months.
Okay. Wait. If your mom gets it wrong, it's okay. Okay. It really is okay because we're doing a post test. So take your best guess.
Do I have to do this before I can
Yes.
get to the other thing?
Yeah.
Okay.
So just take your best guesses. Just be quick and take your guesses, and then it will get you to it. This is wonderful. I see so many conversations going on, and that really makes me excited because this hour is so meaningful in a way for parents and teens to come together and talk about your expectations as a parent, right? So, moving on, we have 3 more agreements. And earlier we talked about drowsy driving. Drowsy driving is just as dangerous as drunk driving because when you are tired, Your vision is blurry. You might be weaving in and out of your lane and your reaction time slows down. So if you are tired, you don't respond as quickly as if you were alert. And if you are a driver behind someone who's tired, you don't know if they're a tired driver or an impaired driver. The consequences can be just the same. In fact, Maddie here is in our 2012 Teen Memoriam. She was a freshman student at BYU with her brother Taylor, who was a sophomore, and his fiancee Bailey. And the three of them had to make a road trip in November of 2012 to Arizona to go home for the Thanksgiving holiday. And because they were young and they pulled all-nighters all the time, being new college students, they thought this was something that they could handle, driving really late. When they all hit the road, it was about 3 o'clock in the morning. They were making their way south towards Arizona. They got to about Kanab. And along the way, Maddie asked her brother, she was sitting in the back seat, if she could take her seatbelt off because she was tired. And Taylor told her to leave it on. She had to stay buckled. But being tired, Maddie takes her shoulder strap and puts it behind her back, leaving herself with only a lap belt and no upper body restraint so that she could lie down on that seat. And Taylor and Bailey, they have no idea even how this was possible. But the two of them were engaged in a conversation and they both fell asleep about the same time. Taylor drove his vehicle off the side of the road. He hit a ditch and it went rotating. Maddie in the back seat did not have that upper body restraint and she suffered an injury to her head. And she is the only one, again, not to walk away from this crash.
There are a lot of myths about staying awake while driving. Like, if you're young, you're okay to pull an all-nighter. Or that listening to music will keep you alert. Or that you can rely on other passengers to help you stay awake. I learned the hard way that the myths are simply not true when I fell asleep behind the wheel and crashed, and my little sister, Maddie, died.
This story gets me every time because I drive a lot, not only for work, but for recreation. And the tips that are simple to practice, these skills, first of all, getting a good night's rest every single night, but also limiting those hours that we are driving, those hours where we are more at risk for falling asleep. The graduated driver license law for 16 and 17-year-old drivers, 0 driving between the hours of midnight and 5 a.m. And parents, you might wonder, well, why would we make that a law? And something I think about is that a good influence for this is that nothing good ever happens after midnight. This is also true for driving. All risky behaviors go up after midnight. And with driving, you may see more DUI drivers on the road. You are more likely to be unbuckled and you are more at risk for falling asleep. So even though this is a law for teens, it may be a good thing to practice for yourself. This is now my own personal rule. If I want to get on the road and get to St. George on a Friday, and I've been busy all day long, and I'm not packed and ready to go before 9 p.m., I'm not leaving. I would rather get up early, take that road trip at 5 a.m. or 6 a.m. instead of trying to drive through the night. So parents, here's your agreement that you agree to your teen from today forward that you will commit to enforcing the graduated driver license nighttime restriction of 0 driving between the hours of midnight and 5 a.m. And then teens, you will commit back to your parents to obey the graduated nighttime driving restriction of 0 driving between midnight and 5 a.m. Moving on to our final two lessons. Making zero unbuckled excuses simply because seatbelts are cool.
So, no, that was a language basketball game. What you get?
No, he's one of the top 3 passers.
Ready? Let's go!
I've got it.
Hey, I like your seatbelt.
Thanks. Want a ride?
Sure.
That video is so good because it was created by teens at a local high school here in Utah. They came up with this. And teens, this is an example of what it looks like when you start talking about traffic safety with your friends. It can be fun. You don't have to feel like the nag, the bossy friend telling everybody to buckle up and slow down. But if you are that person, it's okay. Because you have a right to feel safe in a car. Every single one of us has that right. It is okay to dig deep, find the courage it takes to speak up, to remind other people, to make safe choices when they're driving. And seatbelts are life-saving devices. It just takes a second to put on a seatbelt. Buckling up is the single most effective thing you can do to save your life in the event of a crash. And you know what? It's not only a personal decision, it is a decision that may affect every other person in your car.
This is Michael. Today he's going to hit his girlfriend so hard she ends up with permanent brain damage.
The dirt is critical. They say the guy without the seatbelt did the damage.
No seatbelt, no excuse. From DOE.
Have you ever been the person in a vehicle where you were buckled up and somebody else wasn't? I have. Until I saw this video. I didn't know that any person or object that is not restrained during a crash becomes a projectile. When you are unbuckled, you increase the risk of death or injury to every other person in that vehicle by 40%. This is why my personal rule is that whatever car I am in, whether I am a driver or a passenger, every single person will be buckled. And you know what else? They will also be buckled correctly.
Half of all traffic deaths involve people not wearing seatbelts. And you can just see the difference a seatbelt can make. The unbuckled woman on the left, tossed like a stone in a tin can, slamming her head hard. The buckled woman on the right, clearly in pain, but her seatbelt preventing a more serious injury.
Yeah, the person buckled is clearly in pain because she hit her. You do not want to be that person on either end. A seatbelt puts you in crash-ready position. We don't always get to choose those moments when a crash will occur. We have to be ready for those moments. And if you see that the seatbelt is going across her shoulder, a seatbelt needs to go across the strong bones of the body, from your shoulder to your hip and hip to hip. This is why we have a law called boost until 8. Because kids need to be in a booster seat, it lifts them up so the seatbelt fits them across the strong bones of the body. And on average, they don't hit the correct height of 4 feet 9 until about age 10. So if kids aren't 4 feet 9, they could be in a booster seat longer. But if you take your shoulder strap and put it behind your back, leaving yourself with only a lap belt, 3 things can happen in a crash. Most likely you fold in half, and then you suffer from something called seatbelt syndrome. Those are abdominal injuries. You can submarine under a lap belt. You can also come out the top. If you take a shoulder strap and put it under your armpit, are those strong bones? Your lower ribs and your abdomen? No. Naturally, we all hinge at our hips. But when the seatbelt goes across the lower ribs and the abdomen, you create a new point of pivot where you now bend at your lower thoracic spine or your mid-back. That is not a good option. Wear the seatbelt correctly every ride, every time, wherever you are seated. You never share a seatbelt. No double buckling, because then a seatbelt fits 2 people incorrectly. As a passenger, don't recline the seat. Even if you stay buckled and you're in recline, the seatbelt is left far away from the body and you are no longer in crash-ready position. And that seat is now a launch pad. You will fly right out. The recline position is for when the vehicle is not in motion. Also, never put your feet up on the dashboard. The passenger airbag can deploy at 150 to 200 miles per hour. That's why the safest place for any child under the age of 13 is where? Yeah, the back seat. Just over 2 weeks ago, we had a child fatality in South Jordan, Utah. There was a 4-year-old in the front seat. And I'm not pointing fingers because you know what? I bet most of us have allowed a child to sit in the front seat. At some point, maybe we were going not very far from home. Maybe we weren't going very fast. Maybe it was a Sunday and we were going to church or down the road. Maybe we were headed to school. We're thinking of all these exceptions, knowing that the life you live right now is the only life you have. This is it. Every single life in a car is precious. Every single life on the road is precious. So instead of making excuses for ourselves and for others, we need to start practicing the skills that we need to take and do every single time we get in a vehicle.
Things I'm thankful for. I'm thankful for
friends, family, firefighters, policemen,
for my parents and my neighbors, my family, doctors,
athletics, track and field, my coaches, my trainers, my trials, my parents, food, ice cream. Thankful for my parents and for everything that they do for me.
Dylan, Diane, birthday, and Kaylee, and Savannah. I'm grateful for no injuries.
And the people who helped us out of the car that night.
I'm grateful for everyone that was in the car with me that night. Shaw's homecoming.
We were at dinner, just having a good time.
We took some pictures right outside of the restaurant.
And we're all in suits, had a black suit on.
I had chicken parmesan.
With a nice black tie that had pink flowers on it.
And we had these really good chocolate chip cookies.
And a white shirt that had gray dots. It looked good. We were driving to go to the dance.
We're all just really excited to go to the dance.